أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة. أيها الأحبة في الله، أحييكم بتحية الإسلام. مرحبا بكم جميعا في فترة النقاش المفتوح. أرحب بأستاذي الأفاضل فضيلة الدكتور صلاح الصاوي، نسأل الله عز وجل أن يرفع قدره وأن يغفر ذنبه. فضيلة الدكتور الأستاذ محمد الزحيلي، نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يجزيه خيرا وأن يبارك في عمره وأن ينسئ في أجله، اللهم آمين. أيها الأحبة في الله، مرحبا بكم مرة ثانية مع فترة النقاش المفتوح إن شاء الله. أحيي جميع الأئمة والأفاضل، الإخوة والأخوات، تقبل الله منا ومنكم صالح الأعمال، ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يديم علينا النعمة، وأن نتآزر وأن نتلاقي في الله سبحانه وتعالى، وأن نجتمع على محبته، وأن نلتقي في جنات ونهر في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر الرحمن سبحانه وتعالى، اللهم آمين. إن شاء الله سبحانه وتعالى. The rule is the rule. Inshallah, we're gonna follow the rules like our brothers. They said the rules before me, and I have to follow their footsteps, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will have 90 seconds for the questions, and we will have, inshallah, 2 minutes up to 4 minutes for the answer from our scholars, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just make it short as much as you can to have benefit for all of us, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from our scholars. We have only a session for 1 hour maximum, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. We're gonna start from the right side. We have our brother Ibrahim al-Ramalli, mashallah. He was holded from the first session. Inshallah, he's gonna start because he got promise from our scholar Fadil Sheikh Salah al-Sawi. He promised him he will start the first question. Inshallah, سيسأل السؤال في غضون دقيقة ونصف على الأكثر إن شاء الله سبحانه وتعالى. جزاكم الله خيرا. نبدأ مع فضيلة الشيخ إبراهيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. حقيقة سعيد أنكم موجودون، الحمد لله، بعد انقطاع 5 سنوات من مرض السرطان، والحمد لله. الحمد لله. السؤال يا شيخ.
I'm very happy to be here after 5 years struggling with cancer. And my question for Sheikh, many masajid, I see people that are imams, or not imams actually, just people that just lead others in prayer. And he opens up the phone and he Googles the question. Opens Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari.
وأنا لا أتكلم، أجيب مسلم بس كتاب مسلم أو البخاري وأديله قارن ما بين التليفون مسلم أو البخاري أو كل الأحاديث وقارن بين هذا الكلام. والفضل لله سبحانه وتعالى أحفظ الكتب الست، فأفضل أفتح الكتاب له ويقارن بينهما والحقيقة
quotes Bukhari and Muslim, and he leaves into the evidences. He doesn't address the people, clarify this, the authenticity of this hadith or the interpretation of the hadith. And he goes, particularly in Texas, I've been struggling a great deal with this. So I don't know if this is a complaint or a question. If this is pain regarding our realities, we hurt as you hurt. We ask Allah to rectify our conditions and guide those who subscribe to the da'wah or participate in the da'wah to that which He loves and is pleased with. But between parentheses, electronic libraries has almost replaced the printed libraries. And so we don't want to excessively limit ourselves by dismissing the electronic version. Are there big differences between the electronic version and printed version that cause us to have reservations with them? You know, a person has an iPad or an iPhone. You can put a library of 1,000 volumes. And so, trivializing, electronic resources could be problematic. To think that what's printed and published in printed form, paper form, is the only legitimate source. This is not necessarily that way. Even Islamic universities, they in their references, they permit it in the margins and in their references to refer people to certain websites. The web is a resource of information, and so it's difficult for every single person have the amount of books that exist in electronic libraries. Every age has its tools and its means or pathways to knowledge, and so I hope we can be accommodating to these things. And if we doubt something, we can remove that doubt by trying to verify what's on that particular copy, that particular website, to protect ourselves, our religious commitment. But the default would remain that we accept what's in these books. Especially trustworthy websites like Islam Web, like Dura Sanaya, Islam Today, Islam House, that belongs to Sheikh Manajid. These are very trustworthy resources. And so, to dismiss anyone who uses electronic, someone whose sheikh is Google just because he's something electronic, no. Google is just an agent that works for him to deliver him to his library. So it's difficult to differentiate between that and between people that don't know the difference between the prepackaged fatwa. This is what we should have problems with, and say that their sheikh is Google, whatever Google is, and they take. But if Google is providing with a book, and then I'm the one who looks into this book and extracts from it what I need, we should be a little bit lenient with this, I think. Welcome, Sheikh Muwaffaq, who just made his way to the stage. Allah to bless him and his knowledge and his efforts. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عندي ثلاث أسئلة السؤال الأول
First question, which I asked Sheikh yesterday. When an Imam takes one of the opinion and acts upon it, and there's another opposing view to an Imam, legitimate Imam.
أن يظل يتمسك برأي مذهبه ويقول الرأي الذي عمل به الإمام رأيا غير رأي مذهبي فلا يسأل عن التكليف. هذا هو السؤال الأول.
That was forgive me, I lost track of his question. His second question, Prophet Salah mentioned that an odd view or an odd fatwa, and it's known to all of us that a weak view is that which is or hadith that is shared. There's a hadith that opposes that which is more authentic than it. So the examples we gave yesterday, is this an odd view, or like about hijab not being mandatory? Is this an odd view, or is this a view that is rejected? Because an odd view is a view that comes from someone who is trustworthy, someone whose knowledge is traceable back to the Prophet ﷺ, which caused them to say these things. And I can almost say that a person who says hijab is not mandatory is someone who is His third question. A wrong view could be odd for a while, odd for a group of people. First of all, I praise this protectiveness and this jealousy, and I ask Allah to accept this in your scale of good deeds. Raise your rank because of this. I praise this in you, and I participate with you. I too have these feelings of protectiveness on the religion. People say things like this. So the first question. So, is a person absolved of liability? The first question. Is a person absolved of liability who accepted any imam's view? So, the person who's a layman, he has no madhab in reality. His madhab is the madhab whoever gave him that particular fatwa on that particular issue. Allah, as you know, made things quite lenient on the layman because he's not a person of discernment. He's not going to be able to compare between fatwa. Their act of worship is to ask the people of knowledge whenever they don't know something. And so he doesn't know anything. He asks a person of religious commitment and integrity and knowledge. That's it. That's enough. He's done his due diligence with that much. But if we can try and distinguish between a person who learned the sciences of Islamic law, had shuyukh, had progressed in his studies. This is the person who should have a madhab, to have some sort of structure in what fundamentals he's going to be learning, what madhab he's going to exist inside of. And so we're not saying that madhab is mandatory. We're saying that having a madhab is not mandatory, nor is it impermissible, not rejected altogether. Meaning it's not mandatory on everybody, nor is it rejected from everybody. People, the masses, don't know any better. He doesn't know what a Shafi'i or Maliki is. Shafi'i, the word Shafi'i makes sense to someone, just like in linguistics, say I'm Kufi or Baghdadi in linguistics and grammar. That means nothing to him. He doesn't know the difference between the Kufi and the Baghdadi in Nahu. But the person is studying systematically. He's going to have to pick a curriculum, a structure, a school of law to learn through. And so and then a person that has particular madhab can also step away from his madhab. He can make taqleed of another madhab even if he belongs to that madhab, because he's a student of knowledge and he's convinced of a certain madhab. But if he tries to use that madhab, like the madhab of touching any woman, irrespective of desire or not, it nullifies your wudu and he goes to make umrah. It might take him a month to make umrah, and he doesn't have a month. But we're going to say that it is impermissible to have a madhab, meaning to make taqleed, when you are a person of discernment and you've arrived at a certain conclusion. Then at that point it becomes impermissible for you to imitate someone else, right? Adopt their view blindly, and depart from the view that your research delivered you to. A person can make taqleed of another that they're not convinced of if there is hardship, excessive hardship, and that's in a few segments, or in a bit you're going to hear more about that, inshallah, when the fatwa can change. The second issue, the issue of an odd shadh fatwa. We're saying that shadh is not just in fiqh. This can happen in qira'at, modes of recitation of Quran, and hadith. We didn't say shadud in fiqh is the same as shadud in hadith. I just meant to say being shudud, an odd, peculiar view, can exist in recitations, in hadith and in fiqh. When we talk to fiqh, we weren't talking about hadith anymore, because in hadith it would be you having a narration that opposes those that are more trustworthy than you. Shudud in fiqh means unacceptable views, and we gave a number of examples. It's difficult to accept that the virgin woman, if she says yes, I agree to marrying him, we're going to say that her marriage is invalid. Tell her, be quiet, don't speak. If you speak, your marriage is invalid. With all due respect to Ibn Hazm, and he's above us all and superior to us, but in this place we're not going to take it from him. It doesn't mean that every person that has a shadh view has the religious commitment of Ibn Hazm. There are some people, like we quoted yesterday, some people who give fatwa in certain places, the Salaf would say, are more deserving of punishments, legal punishments, than the thieves in the streets. There are others who of great religious commitment and accepted by the ummah, known for his piety. In that case, we put the odd fatwa aside and we continue to revere him and hold him in high esteem. I thank again Abdul Jawad. I'm calling our attention to this.
هناك أي سؤال من الأخوات؟ رفع إلى الجهة اليمنى إن شاء الله. أخونا الكريم تفضل سؤال.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ورد اليوم تعبير
One person used the expression or the term of إجماع سكوتي.
وهذا
Tacit إجماع. When did إجماع سكوتي arise? Who spoke about this? And who benefits from this? I fear that time passes and the people that are silent become more and more, and no one is talking about the truth anymore. And one or two people, they will speak, and everyone else will become an ijma'. This is one issue. As for the chaos of fatwa, it cannot be regulated. In the age of connectivity and communications, you said this can be restricted, and we can endorse those that are righteous and call out those who are not. That was my second question. Jazakallah khairan.
جزاكم الله خيرا. أحسنت. من يجيب من الأخوات؟
I spoke about the Ijma' Sukuti, so I'll answer this. There are two types of Ijma'. The Ijma' Sarih was straightforward, explicit Ijma'. That's when the ruling of Allah Azza wa Jal was stated by scholars of an age. All of them they harmonize on one view. Ijma' Sukuti is when some scholars say something and others are silent. This is from a matter of principle. But historically, perhaps the first who spoke about this was the author of Risala in Usul al-Fiqh, who's Imam al-Shafi'i himself. And also those who authored books on Usul al-Fiqh always spoke about this. The one who framed it and spoke about it at great lengths first was probably Imam al-Shafi'i. As for those who will be silent, this is not something we're gonna overlook. We said this can happen because there could be mujtahidun, people who ijtihad, that were not able to be present in the discussion or contribute to that legalistic discussion. So if they were not present, or all their views could not all be collected, then one of the conditions of a explicit ijma' is not there. So a silent ijma' is almost like a pseudo ijma'. It appears to be an ijma', but it's not as clear. As for those who speak out, this is very, very rare. How many people did what Imam Junayd did and stood up in the face of oppression and spoke the truth, or Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, Ghazali ibn Taymiyyah? When matters fall under the genre of politics and political decisions, where you have to weigh the benefits and the losses, there will always be, and even until our age, there are those who speak, and there are those who fear the lashes of the rulers or the consequences of the government. And so Imam Ahmad rahimahullah became famous because of what he went through and what he endured of persecution for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And others resorted to ambiguity or refusing or refraining from sharing their opinions. And of course, we would continue to say this deen requires men. Fidaiyin, meaning men of sacrifice. As our Prophet ﷺ said about Sayyid al-Shuhada, the chiefs of the martyrs, or Hamza, and a man who gets up to a tyrant and commands and forbids him, and as a result he is killed. And the next question is, I have a wish that when this conference ends, we take AMJA to a higher level so they can compete with Sheikh Google. I believe we have a great degree of collective experience to become people of enough caliber to be recognized and received by the people as authorities in these subjects. And what do I mean by that? I say fatwa or localized fatwa is when we speak about issues that pertain to local challenges we have here in our nation, in our North America. Whereas when we have a globalized fatwa that speak on behalf of the entire ummah, so that we can be seen as an authority of insight and of opinion in the ummah at large. He said fatwa is a wide arena, and so it is Islam. I mean, it can apply to every genre of Islam or every ruling in Islam, from tahara, purification, all the way down to government models and warfare and military protocol. Some people are in need of fatwa, direction on issues that are newly emerging in their lives. People want to know, as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, fatwa is fatwa is the application of the legal ruling on a specific case scenario. The Messenger of Allah said, Allah said, ask the people of the dhikr. And the Messenger of Allah said, seeking knowledge and obligation on every Muslim. And so all Muslims need to ask about the affairs of their religion, from the regular human being, the layman, in their acts of worship, and then in their transactions after that, and then in other subjects and topics as well. And so the fatwa has to be available to all these people, and so those that can give fatwa need to continue to be produced, made available to these people. So those just like doctors, people have doctors in every field and every genre produced, for like a general physician, an eye, ear, and throat doctor, a cardiologist, and the fatwa is the same way. And the shara is the medicine, right, of people's existence. This is a wide avenue. So what we're saying is that from the mufti's end of the fatwa equation, he needs to be of that caliber, readiness, be equipped to do it. When someone is sick, do they go to the mufti of the state or of the country, the grand mufti, or does he go to a physician? And so respecting specialization is what we're calling for here. So, and there are different levels of fatwa. If the imam of the masjid is specialized, he can clarify to the people of the masjid those of those issues which he has mastered. The issue of fatwa being closed, it's not closed. We say if the matter at hand being answered by the mufti is newly emerging, we say it is recommended. Ask the specialist in it, that's all. From here, we spoke about the collective ijtihad that the mashayikh spoke about a session ago. There's an organization called Islamic Medical Association. 10-15 doctors and lab scientists, and 10-15 Sharia specialist scholars. And so the nature of the issue for which a ruling is sought is presented, and the specialists explain to it as halal and haram. So when they spoke about things like the alcohol that is placed in medicines, is that halal or haram? This alcohol, is it wine? If it's wine, is it physically impure, or is it just spiritually impure? So that we can know which medicines we can use and which medicines we cannot use. And so when they said the effectiveness of the medicine, will be would disappear without this chemical in it, and it's a very little amount as well. And so, are you going to consider this impermissible? I'm very sorry and very embarrassed to cut you off, but just the time had ended about 3 minutes ago and I didn't know when to stop you, so forgive me for having to stop you. Respected Mashayikh, a wrong fatwa or invalid fatwa, at times it can come from a fiqh assembly, an entire fiqh assembly, especially if the fiqh assembly comes from a state appointed. Like, for example, the issue of zakah. I looked, for example, seeing, for example, things that are removed from the earth, such as petroleum and natural resources that are mined. So using that example, what do we say about these fatwa that come when they were determined by the government and they were just justified by the fatwa circles? And he gave an example of the certain fatwa in Egypt signed by Tantawi regarding zakat of natural resources and where it can be distributed, where it cannot. So first of all, regarding closed fatwa and open fatwa, Sheikh Muhammad Badr, he said, is the assembly specialized on fatwa inside, or can it give fatwa across the sea? And the answer is, we are to give fatwa here only. He said the point of addressing issues here, he said our mission statement is about that. And this organization was created because of the inability to those overseas to understand what's happening here. So we're not going to reverse the process and decide what's happening there. That is what you should expect of us and nothing more. And we cannot be asked to bear something beyond our capacity. We are here to try our best to give fatwa for the Muslims in the newly emerging events here in the United States. And the rest of the Islamic world, they have great scholars and experts. And I think that's what Ustad Muhammad meant. As for the issue of zakat, zakat on petroleum, he says this may be an extension of this point. Fatwa on zakah regarding petrol. He says this is an issue that is to be addressed by the scholars in that part of the world. That's their issue. That's their society. They understand the variables and the factors contributing to this phenomenon, this fatwa. That is beyond our ability, and Allah does not commission someone beyond their capacity. And so that we can fulfill our duty here and offer due diligence to this at hand, we ask people who can just understand that, take into consideration that limitation, and have mercy on our weakness and our inability to extend our services to beyond the oceans. We're talking about the nawazil, the new events in this country. We have 2 minutes. And so what we're saying, those that are graduated from Sharia colleges and fiqh, and not for those who have a PhD in Israelite history and become the Grand Mufti of certain countries. This is not someone who's qualified for fatwa. He's saying giving fatwa to the masses needs to be specialized in the Sharia. And if he is asked about something he knows, he responds. If he doesn't, he continues to say, I do not know, or he asks someone more knowledgeable, or seeks out the books. As for the collective ijtihad, for the really complex issues, that's what these assemblies are for. They present it 6 months in advance, and it is studied and discussed back and forth, and then it's voted on by majority. And this is the application of the collective ijtihad, and far likelier to be correct and to be accepted by the ummah. Regarding to the alcohol, and so the physician said it's impossible to have this medicine without it, and so they said, okay, fine, in that case it would be permissible. I'm going back to the story he was mentioning a short while ago. They said even with regards to getting alcohol, whether it's impurable or not, or has it changed chemically or has it not changed, we said if it's impossible, then when things are a necessity, then even if they're impermissible, a concession is made for them. One of my mashayikh, when they differed in the assembly, he said, there is not one sheikh in the world, there is not the head of the health, I guess, association told them all the shuyukh in the world, they can't give us one straight answer, an agreement on the harm of anything in the world except smoking, not even alcohol or anything else.
المسؤولين فيه ضرر للدخان على الأقل وباتفاقنا حتى الخنزير ما اتفقوا على ضررين ولا
He said even swine, otherwise, even opium, they agreed on smoke, nicotine being dangerous.
الأطباء الضرر
And so,
حديث الرسول بمنتهى السهولة لا ضرر
and so we say, okay, in that case, if you agree on that, our Prophet ﷺ said there's no harm, nor any harm to be reciprocated back to you.
سلام عليكم فرق الله قدركم.
Ameen.
ونبي الفاضل ان الشريعه الاسلاميه تواكب الانسانيه وتمثلها في كل زمان ومكان لعلاج سلوكاتها الاخلاقيه.
So we say that the Sharia Islamiyah, Islamic Sharia applies to every time and every place. And so is it necessary that those people perform ijtihad and give fatwa?
ثم كذلك سؤالي قاعدة أصولية تقول لا ينسب لسان القول لا ينسب وأرجو الإجابة إن شاء الله من فضيلة الشيخ الكريم إن شاء الله.
آمين.
جزاكم الله خيرا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
سريع حول الإجماع السكوتي.
And just say something quickly regarding Ijma' Sukuti. And so Shafi'i rahimahullah said that no person who's disregarded should have an opinion. Their opinion is not an opinion. Ijma' Sukuti is when some people perform ijtihad and it becomes known that these people have this view and there is no opposition to that view that emerges. And some people that are qualified for ijtihad of a position, and this position becomes known about them, circulated, and then no opposition is reported. This is what's considered Ijma' Sukuti. The scholars disagreed on its authority. Some said it's not a hujjah because there may be a reason for them being silent, like them being scared, or they didn't know. So this silence did not necessitate an agreement per se. And they said that Shafi'i said that no person who is silent, who is disregarded or refused to speak up, that they have in a view. Like you shouldn't say their view is agreement because they didn't speak up. Other scholars said no. Silence of scholars in a place where they're supposed to speak up, meaning if they know the truth is the opposite, they need to explain that. Then in that case, this should be considered an evidence, not an ijma' per se, but it is a proof among the proofs. It has its weight, it has its strength. We're saying that Majma' Fuqaha al-Sharia, the collective ijtihad of the assembly, they say we're just like a hair in the body of the ummah. We can't say that our view in this assembly is ijma' or near ijma'. Our numbers are so small, our numbers are so little, and it's your jobs to spread our word to people and let people know about it so that our services can be circulated and so that our errors can be pointed out to us. So we can say this is an alternative to the absence of ijma' per se, but it's not an ijma', nor anywhere near it. Not the type of ijma' in the books of usul fiqh. You say like in like media terms, an agreement, okay, maybe. But in terms of the term ijma' as was meant by usul fiqh scholars that can be used as an evidence, this is not the case. We're very, very distant from that. These are just the ijtihad of a number of mashayikh and students of knowledge who exerted their effort in one issue, and this was the extent of what they've arrived at. And that's why the organization of the Islamic Conference and others all try to communicate as best as they can so that they can come closer and closer to their desired goal. The question for Dr. Salah regarding fatwa. We have in America, us being a minority and all, some say that 5%, maybe 10% of the Muslims come to the masajid, even if it were 20. The rest of them, they hear about the Islam on the news. We're especially talking about the second generation, and so those enter the college afterwards. They ask people that come visit them that they have some master's degree in Islamic studies from secular universities, and they write about very sensitive issues in newspapers and otherwise, about the hijab and about the riba and otherwise. And the youth, of course, take this. They take it and accept it to a certain degree. Any Muslim that represents some organization, non-religious per se, not a religious organization, they ask him any question at all about salah and ablution, otherwise, and they could be like an activist or some sort of leadership personality. They just happen to be Muslim. Their organization, not even a religious organization. So, what is the role of AMJA or the Fiqh Council or otherwise, and the Imams present here, at curbing this wave exists in mainstream America from undermining the understanding of Islam inside the Muslim communities. This is an organization. This is the organization that I expect and hope was set on good foundations. But what we're talking about here can only serve as the Dar al-Ifta, the official fatwa entity that is recognized by the government or endorsed by the government itself. That is the type of institution that can, with authority, push back against things of this nature. And so you should all consider yourselves ambassadors so that the Majma', the assembly itself, can develop some degree of traction so that people can come ask it as opposed to asking others. And by that, its actions can increase, its knownness can be enhanced. That's the extent of what can be done to remedy Otherwise, the assembly itself cannot serve or influence or be an authoritative voice that is impactful in the larger conversations. When that happens, then the youth will come to them for the answers. The Muslim youth need to know that there are entities who are specialized, who can answer these questions with greater capability than others. Dr. Moff wished to say something and there. That this idea, from my experience in America, what our brother is mentioning, I look at it a different way. There are departments in universities in America, and so there is a cross section or a strata of students that people can become chaplains and otherwise through these organizations. But of course, the problem with these departments is that those that head these departments don't have knowledge, don't have fiqh. They may not be Muslim at all to begin with. And as far as I know, there's not a single Islamic university that is recognized. There are some that are working towards that, and I ask Allah to make it easy for them, facilitate that for them. Therefore, we are in need of filling these departments in America. How I've been saying, so I lost my voice in my own community. Nominate those among your children, those that will study Islam. We're on our way out. We're heading to the hereafter. Who's going to fill these roles? You'll say that there's no money here. It's not an incentive. There's no incentive. Why would someone make his career this? And so the fathers and mothers need to consider this. The Mashaykh are in Houston right now. How many do you know are studying Islam in universities? So, let's develop a youth that graduates from universities here that can serve their communities and save their communities. But they have to, people that are Muslim. What's extremely dangerous, those who specialize in Islam are not. Those that in Islamic university that don't have accreditation. See who are those that are really working hard. We can send our children to them, even if they haven't gotten accreditation, but to develop the know-how, even if they're not going to be accredited at the end of the day. Help them a bit, sponsor these students. We can put our hands together and get each other recognized. We can collaborate. لا لا لا
لأن عندنا قواعد لابد أن نلتزم بها. إذا أردت أن تتكلم لا
Just time is over. I just want to say half a statement. What our brother is speaking about, this is a big problem. It's across the Ummah, even in the East. Many of those who give fatwa are graduates of Islamic philosophy and linguistics, and the matter has been referred to people that are not qualified for it. As the Prophet ﷺ said, this will be of the signs of the hour. Until there's no scholar left after the old day, people take those that are ignorant as their leaders. Our role in this, what we wish to do, is just to place a roadmap, milestones for fatwa and how to give fatwa. In order for the fatwa to be valid, it has to come from those that are qualified, or in an improper fashion, if a person is qualified with it and use the proper methodology to arrive at it, then it becomes odd. And so this is something that we are learning here at the conference. We teach it to the people, apply it in our lives. And so at the end we say, we have pushed everything that I could, and I left to Allah what was outside of my capacity, what I failed at doing. We apologize to those waiting to ask their questions. Inshallah, we have an open discussion later on. Inshallah, you please be at the front of those asking. And there are no sisters had any question at this one. Inshallah, they'll have another opportunity at the open session. Ahsan Allah ilaykum.